Hi folks, today we're going to cover how to send a conversion to Facebook via their Conversion API or CAPI every time a user submits a Growform form submission. Why would we want to do this? Well, some browsers have started blocking cookies and privacy restrictions have made it harder and harder for Facebook's regular pixel to work well. It didn't take long for Facebook to come up with a kind of sneaky way of matching your form submissions to Facebook users, even with limited browser tracking. Basically, what this involves is taking the information we do have, like the user's email and IP address, sending this over to Facebook and matching it all up. All of this is done in a secure, hashed way behind the scenes, so no personal data is ever exposed. There's no need for any technical knowledge, although you will need to follow these instructions closely, as it can get a bit finicky. My name's Colin if we are yet to meet, and let's dive right in. First things first, we need to enable IP address and user agent collection in Growform. The user agent is just a sophisticated way of saying the user's browser, whilst the IP address is the internet equivalent to somebody's phone number. To do this, inside Growform, we are going to open up the form, go to Edit Form Settings, and then choose Capture System Details, and remember to hit Save. I'm not a lawyer, by the way, but some jurisdictions might require you to get your user's permission before you capture their IP address, so do check this before you continue. What this does is, when someone fills in our form, it's going to capture their IP address and their user agent, and that is really useful for Facebook in matching our lead with theirs. Without this step, Facebook only has an email address to go off, which might not be enough since people often use different work emails to their personal email and so on. I know I do. Now let's test this by running a test lead, which we can do by clicking on our form and filling it out as if we were a user. And when we go to View Leads, we can see our form submission complete with the IP address and the user agent, which will be very handy for Facebook in the next step. The next step is with Zapier. To create a new Zap there, and we want to run that whenever we get a form submission. You may already have an account set up on Zapier. If you're yet to, they do have a free tier, so sign up to that and join me again in the next section. Welcome back. So here is where we're going to set the app to Growform, trigger the event to new form submission, and here is where you can link your account. You may need to grab your Growform API key at this stage if you're yet to. Zapier can guide you through that process. Go ahead and choose the form you were just working on and hit continue. Next, hit test trigger to see the lead we've just filled in pop up on the screen. And there it is, complete with the system IP address and user agent. Okay, so let's add an action here and we'll search for Facebook conversions. And 99% of occasions, you'll want to choose Facebook conversions for business admins. Now remember, we'll need to also link Facebook with Zapier here, and there's two key things to note. The first is to be sure to connect the right Pixel account, and the second is to allow Zapier access to your business ad manager. Once you're connected, we can move on. So what action event do we want here? Well, if you're sending through anything except for a purchase or lead event, you should choose Send Other Event. Once you've chosen this, you'll be able to select from Facebook's wide array of standard events or even custom events. This will include all of the ones you're familiar with, including Add to Cart, Complete Registration, and so on. There's a link in the description to a Meta help page if you are stuck. They offer very thorough documentation, so do go have a look at that and get your info right from the horse's mouth, or Mark Zuckerberg's mouth. Right, let's configure the action source. Action source is the place that our action came from. Surprise, surprise. Facebook's documentation goes into more detail, but basically they'll accept app, website, email, but in our case, the conversion did take place on the website, so we are going to set it to that. It's worth noting that even though this technically fires from a back-end process, which you might call offline, the conversion was initiated from the website, so website is the right parameter to put there. Under event info, we get all the usual suspects: add to cart, complete registration, start trial, purchase, and more. In this case, I'm going to fire the complete registration event because that's what the user has just done. A word of warning, do not choose purchase or lead here, as Zapier will return a very vague error that's very difficult to debug. If you want to use purchase or lead, go back and choose the right action in the previous step. Getting there. Next we have event time. If you leave this blank, Zapier will just use the time the Zap runs. Just beware that Facebook expect this to be within 5 minutes of the event, so you should only leave this blank if you're confident that this will be the case. Like if you're polling for new leads every minute or two. However, if you're polling for leads every 15 minutes, which might be the case if you're on a free or cheaper Zapier plan, you should set this as the exact time the lead was received. In Growform's case, we can look this up from our lead, but just check it's in the right time zone. In my case, I'm polling every couple of minutes, so I'm happy to leave this field blank. We don't need to set an event ID. There's more info on this in the documentation if indeed you are curious. Because we said website for the action source, Facebook does require us to provide the website the conversion occurred on. I'm going to set mine to this, as this is where my form is embedded. Test event code is used for testing, and opt-out of ads delivery optimization basically uses this data for attribution only rather than ad performance. I'm going to leave this blank, which will then default to false. Finally, if we scroll to customer information, this is where our user's information is matched to the Facebook user. Basically, Facebook has a database of everyone's name, email address, IP address, and what have you, and by sending this information over, they'll match the Facebook user to our user. You may have read about needing to hash this data. Don't worry about that, as this Zap will do it for you. You don't need to run around working out how to encrypt things, just enter the details in plain text. I wouldn't be smart enough to do that anyway. You should aim to at least provide the email address of the customer as well as much information as you have available to get a good match. Importantly, you'll see client user agent and client IP address on this list. These are some of the most useful fields in our arsenal and will let us match users with a decent degree of accuracy. Go ahead and choose the system IP field and user agent string that we captured from Growform earlier. So, just to recap, we're sending over a complete registration event. It's from our website, and we're going to match the customer based on their email address, IP address, and their user agent. All clear. You might be wondering about the click ID, FBC, or browser ID, FBP. I will cover that later. Let's just get the basics over with first. With all that done, hit continue and then test step. Okay, as you can see, we've got a response with some debugging information there and no errors. I'm going to go ahead and publish this now, as I know it's working. Okay, well, all that's left to do now is double check that we received the event in Facebook. So hop over to Events Manager in Facebook, which you can get to from business.facebook.com, opening all tools and following the links to Events Manager. Make sure you're in the right account that you linked with Zapier earlier on in this video, because trust me, it has caught me out before. If you go to Data Sources and choose your pixel, you can see a list of events on screen, and you should see the event you just sent through. I'm kidding, of course, that would be way too simple. Facebook has up to a 30-minute delay, so even if you have configured everything perfectly, you might not see it for more than half an hour. Great. Once you've waited for the allotted time, you should be able to see the event we have just sent under Events. Finally, once you've sent a few of these through, Facebook will give you a match quality score, but again, you may need to wait some time for this data to collect. You may remember earlier, Facebook gave us the option to send through an FBC and FBP parameter. These parameters are generated by the Facebook pixel and help them identify the user even more precisely. Growform has some code available to grab these parameters if they're set and save them in hidden fields. I've linked to this in the video description. Once you've installed this code, you'll need to go to your form, create two hidden fields called FBC and FBP, and save your form. Once you're done, create another test lead and map these fields over in your Zap, just like the other fields. And that was a mammoth journey, but I trust you have completed it with me. You're planting your flag in the ground and saying, I did it. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've done really well. If you have any final questions, anything you're unsure about, put it in the comments. Somebody from the team will get back to you, because I understand it's a little fiddly to do that, but I trust that the rewards are bountiful and plentiful, and you're able to come back to me in a few weeks and say, oh, I'm so glad I watched this. If you're yet to like and subscribe, now's your time to do it. I've talked way too much. I'm leaving. Goodbye.